Hey, everybody, welcome to the channel. I am your host, Jeff Freeman, and tonight we have a very special treat, episode number 3 of the Insiders Insights. And tonight I've got a couple of guys. You're going to love these guys. I met them at PhenomeCon. They are fellow insiders, and they got some really interesting stuff to talk about with us tonight. We're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to be talking about Skinwalker Ranch. We're going to be talking about PhenomeCon. And we're also going to be talking about, of course, being an insider. So grab your chips and salsa, folks, because I tell you what, we're going to have some fun with this. Let's get started. Why do the UFOs show up there? Why are there so many going there and spotted there over most any place else in the world? There are other UFO hotspots, but Skinwalker Ranch area is definitely one of them. This shot right here, this is basically a collage of all the UAPs that they had seen over the ranch during last season. They put them all together into one picture, and that's a lot of them. And it was when the drill rig was in the ground, their compasses were changing. Instead of pointing to north, they were pointing at the drill rig. I mean, how does things like this happen?
I feel like with the insiders, it's really unique where it doesn't feel like we're fans anymore necessarily. Like we are, but like we're involved.
Right.
And that feels much more official than a fan.
All right, here we go. Hey, welcome to the show, Jimm Kjelgaard and Roger Stokes. So glad you joined us here tonight. How you guys doing?
Doing awesome.
Yeah, doing great. Thank you for having us on.
It's my pleasure. Absolutely my pleasure to have you guys on. I'll tell you, I met Jimm and Roger at PhenomeCon, as I mentioned earlier. And we just seem to be like hanging out with, and then pretty soon we're saving spots for each other up in the front row and all this kind of stuff. And I got to know you guys at the PhenomeCon, and I'm really glad because you both have, pretty interesting stuff that you've got going on. You guys, well, I'll let you talk about it a little bit, but Jimm, tell us a little bit about Jimm Kjelgaard and your music.
All right. Well, first of all, hello, everybody. Everybody that's there in the live chat and following along. And a very big thank you to Jeff for having Roger and I on. My name is Jimm with 2 M's, and I'll explain why there's 2 M's in just a moment. But I was born and raised in upstate New York in a city called Endicott, which happens to be the birthplace of IBM. Those of you that can remember back in the old days when IBM was actually still a thing. And also Binghamton, New York was the other close area where I grew up by. That's where Rod Serling of the Twilight Zone fame was raised. So pretty cool stuff there. I moved out to Utah in 1994. My wife is from out here, so I had to leave my family back in New York, and her family was here. So we moved out here, settled out here, got married shortly thereafter, and we have 3 awesome kids. My oldest son graduated from the police academy here in Utah about a year ago, and he's since moved on to other things. But my daughter is currently in college, and my youngest is just beginning his sophomore year of high school. So
Wow.
my junior namesake there. My big thing, I'm by profession and trade, I'm an audio engineer and music producer. Music is kind of my life. It's pretty much what I've spent most of my adult life doing. And really, I'm passionate about all kinds of music. I mean, as a producer, I produced everything from just a regular one guy with either a piano or acoustic guitar doing folk music to full studio orchestras, with the 40, 50, 60 piece orchestra. So
Wow.
But my passion and my greatest love is having grown up a teenager in the 1980s. Of course, I love synthesizers, and so 80s music, 80s new wave in particular, groups like Depeche Mode, Pet Shop Boys, OMD, New Order. Bands like that are kind of really what I gravitate towards. Also a really big AC/DC and Def Leppard fan. Love the Beatles. Pink Floyd is one of my favorites as well. But synthesizers is where I really, that's where my passion lies. And Roger and I were actually in a band together called Eminent Soul, which is a synth pop band, and really into the 80s retro synth pop, synth wave, stuff like that. And I also run a weekly radio show that is based out of a radio network in Tel Aviv, Israel. And every Sunday afternoon, I do a 2-hour show called The Soul of Synth Pop. And on that show, we play some of the classic bands like Depeche Mode, New Order, OMD, and whatnot, but also a lot of modern day indie bands that are what we would call synth pop or synth wave, things of that nature, dream pop and all that. And it's gotten fairly successful for me. I've been doing it for 5 years now. And my show is pretty well consistently listened to in lots of different countries. If you're a big synth pop fan or big 80s, new wave type fan, that might be a show you might like listening to. I won't push you to listen to the music that Roger and I did as Eminent Soul, which I'm still doing. Roger had to leave the band a couple years ago, but I'm still doing it, and we're actually getting ready to release our final release in just a couple of weeks.
All right.
But yeah, we're back in 2004, I had the pleasure of working with members of Depeche Mode and members of OMD, and we released an EP together. Got interviewed by the BBC and the Guardian newspaper, which is the biggest newspaper in the UK. So, and used to be a member of the National Academy of Recording Arts and Sciences. That's the organization that puts on the Grammy Awards every year. So, been to the Grammys probably, I don't know, 5 or 6 times.
Really?
During my life, and Roger went with me one time. And
it's incredibly fun.
Can attest to how much fun the Grammys are. So I've been really blessed. I've been able to rub elbows with and hang out with some of the biggest names in music. But one of the things that I learned in working very closely with some of these musicians is I myself never want to be famous. I don't ever want to deal with some of the uncomfortable aspects of fame and notoriety that goes along with being a celebrity. So I can understand when people kind of like to be more under the radar kind, and that's kind of
you're in a good place right now for that. So
yeah, really, we really are. And where my interest with Skinwalker Ranch comes from, I myself have not had very many what I would term paranormal experiences throughout my life. But I first learned of Skinwalker Ranch. There's an old podcast that I believe is still on called The Paracast, which is run by a gentleman by the name of Gene Steinberg, and started off with a guy named David Biedney and then Christopher O'Brien. And I have no idea who's co-hosting with him now. But back in the early 2000s, I first heard about this place called Skinwalker Ranch in Utah. And then I want to say about 2005, 2006, the book by Colm Kelleher and George Knapp called The Hunt for the Skinwalker was released. And I bought that and I read it cover to cover multiple times and was just completely absorbed by what I had been reading in it. And so really ever since then, I've spent a fair amount of time in the Uintah Basin. I currently live in what they call the Salt Lake Valley, a city known as Bountiful, Utah.
Okay.
It's about 7 or 8 miles north of Salt Lake City, but
I've been through there.
Just a short drive from the Uintah Basin, only about 2.5 hours to get there. And really, it's just kind of been something that both Roger and I have taken a keen interest on. And we've never, ever had a desire or made any attempts to try to get on the ranch. We respect property boundaries and things like that. But we've spent a fair amount of time out there in that region, and it truly is a hotbed of activity for all kinds of unexplained activities and whatnot. And some of the nicest, most wonderful people you could ever hope to come across live in that region. And the natural beauty that's out there, you really only catch a glimpse of it on the TV show, but some of the surrounding areas are just absolutely breathtaking, with the rock formations and the canyons and the mountains. Of course, the Uintah Mountains are some of the most beautiful mountains I've ever had.
I was just there yesterday.
So yeah. So I'm also, you'll hear me a lot of times. My two other things that I absolutely love are tacos. I love tacos. You'll always hear me, crave.
We were doing the carne asada at the PhenomeCon.
Right. And some people are cat people. Some people like dogs. There's other people that like, birds and whatnot. My favorite animal, I absolutely adore bunnies. I am all about bunnies. And anytime I'm having a bad day, if I ever, need cheering up, my wife or my daughter will often send me pictures of little baby bunnies and stuff. And then
cool. Yep. Yep. So I'll tell you, there's a lot of them around here.
That's heaven for me.
Yeah. Yep. Wow. Roger. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about Roger Stokes, man. What's going on?
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be hard to top Jimm there.
No, right? I can't.
He's got quite an impressive resume. But no, hey, again, thank you, Jeff, for having me and Jimm on here. I'm super excited. As you know, my name is Roger Stokes, and I have, I guess by trade, my day job, I'm into social media marketing. Really love social media and all the different channels. Super, super fun to be on there, right? Internet has really connected the world and social media today as we know it. But a little bit about me, you'll find out that I'm an absolute lover of games, and not only board games, but video games. And we talked a little bit about this, Jeff, when we were at PhenomeCon. I'm an absolute Blizzard Entertainment fan and World of Warcraft fan.
And so, why is that? I mean, one of their good reasons. Go ahead. If you want to talk about that, if you don't.
Oh yeah, no. One of the reasons why, well, I've always loved games growing up, and it's just always been a passion of mine. But I did have the opportunity to work for Blizzard Entertainment at one time and help them create Diablo 3. So
nice.
Again, right? Like being able to release a AAA game title and really going ahead and just sharing that passion with people and helping people with games is something that I love to do. Jimm knows that, like when you and I were kind of geeking out, Jeff, there at PhenomeCon about World of Warcraft, Jimm started singing out, and so it's one of those funny things. But no, I really love video games, and I have 3 kids, 2 boys and a girl. They all love video games as well, and so for family time, we get together, we play video games, and have tons of fun that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
But,
and it's kind of a good way to kind of connect with them too. Like my boys and I, 2 of them, well, one lives in 3 live in Pennsylvania, 1 lives in California. But this is a way for me to keep in touch with them, is to actually game with them or whatever. We get on Discord and we just talk and play, and that way I can still stay in touch and all that too while I'm on the road. So yeah. Somebody said, "What's behind Jeff? A white ghost?" No, let's see.
There's a little white spot there.
Oh, well, yeah, that's the sun. It's I have a green screen, obviously, and the sun is kind of blaring in some of these windows. I got all the shades down. But it's still coming in. Once the sun goes down here, it's the sun over the mesa. Here it is. I'm still in the Uintah basin. So I'm still right here just outside of Vernal. So I haven't left yet.
Awesome.
As you can see, I'm sitting, just outside of in front of the mesa. I'm sorry, Roger, I jumped in on you there.
Oh, no worries at all. But so ever since I was young, I really had an interest in the paranormal. And I've always liked spooky things, and really just anything, when you talk about paranormal, like cryptids, ghosts, spirits, UFOs, Bigfoot, those things have always intrigued me. I remember as a child, my parents, they got the Encyclopedia Britannica, the series, and they actually released a book about all the mythology around the world. And as a child, that fascinated me to no end. And something that I'll share with everybody here. And I know we all have our unique experiences, but growing up, I've had a lot of paranormal experiences ever since I've been a child, which has fascinated me. Because as a child, I don't think I really understood what was going on, that this was not a normal thing. Most people don't have these types of experience. And if they do, it's maybe a rare occurrence or something that they don't quite understand. But I really, really love the fact that as I got older, I realized that, number one, I could see spirits. I could have spirits talk to me, disembodied voices.
Yeah.
And I've seen a lot of crazy things. And so when people say, oh, there's just some wild stuff out there, I'm an advocate, right? Because I 100% believe there are things that we just don't know about and we may not understand. And so I have an open mind, and that's what's really brought me to the paranormal. And Jimm and I, we kind of wanted to start dabbling ourselves into really fighting that stigma of what is paranormal. Because as I've talked to a lot of people, especially in the past few years, people share with me that they have paranormal experiences, but they're afraid to talk about it, right? They don't want their professional colleagues to know, or their family, because, there's the stigma of being called crazy.
Yep.
And that's something that Jimm and I really want to take away, right? We want to bring the realm of anything otherworldly into the realm of science and possibility, because it's just something that we may not understand. And so we started a podcast recently just called The Soul of the Unexplained,
right?
Where we want to talk about just a lot of different subjects. And so we started with Skinwalker Ranch. We've talked about disembodied voices, but we're going to explore all areas of the unknown. And it's really exciting. So I'm super excited to continue the discussion here and talk about Skinwalker Ranch, the insiders. I live here in Orem, Utah, which is in Utah County, so about 2 hours away.
You guys are so lucky.
Skinwalker. So a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is. And I gotta say, I not everybody loves this environment out here, the landscape and all of that. I am somebody who does. I just love it. And being here still, like I said, I'm still in the Uintah basin, and it's just wonderful. It really is. And I got some experiences. I'll talk about it later. I was telling Jimm earlier, I had a little walk last night, and I'll tell that story as we go along here. But yeah, I'm really intrigued. I listened to your podcast, and going through some of the information. You've got the introductory episode, and then you've got like Skinwalker Ranch. You've broken up into 3, correct? Was it 3 or 4?
Right.
Three. Yeah. And so I started working my way through those. I haven't finished them yet, but you got a good thing going there. And like you said, Roger, that's one of the cool things about this, and being able to, like with your podcast, is being able to have people come on and talk. Is that kind of what you're going to be doing there as well? Is have people come on and share experiences on the podcast?
Yeah, we've go ahead, Raj.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. We want to. We started out just having a discussion between Jimm and I, but we want to bring more people on, right, to really share those experiences and have a discussion around those types of things. So yes, we will start to bring on guests here in the next month or so.
Yeah, and you give them a comfortable environment to talk in, like the one that we had at PhenomeCon. Now, again, folks, I'm going to talk about PhenomeCon a little bit. I hope you don't bore you with that, but honestly, the first thing I want to say about PhenomeCon is, if you were not there, it's that this was the second year they had it in Vernal, Utah. It happens the weekend after Labor Day. So that following is like a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday after Labor Day. So whatever that falls on next year, 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th, something like that, of September. You really should check it out. If you like this stuff, if you like Skinwalker Ranch, if you're interested in that sort of thing, you really should check it out, because we had a absolute fantastic time. I know you guys did. I know I did. One of the things I wanted to mention, though, Roger, you were talking about talking about their experiences, was open mic night that we all 3 of us went to that night. And it was in a canyon, folks. And this was a park out in the canyon. And they had a fire going and all the chairs set up around this campfire. And they had open mic where people could come up and share their experiences, whether it be UFO, UAP, Bigfoot, Skinwalker, paranormal stuff, ghost experience, whatever. People got up and shared their stories, and that was awesome. Now you guys saw it. You were there last year too, right?
Yeah, it was our second year attending PhenomeCon, and the best way that I can explain it is it's like going to a family reunion. I mean, but the kind of family reunion that you actually really, really want to go to.
Yes, yeah,
Because
that's the other kind. Yeah,
yeah, I mean, but it's honestly, there were people that we ran across last year that attended last year, and as soon as they saw us, they remembered both Roger and I, and we remembered them, and it was like, wow, how have you guys been? And just kind of getting caught up with people, and you really, particularly if you ever attend PhenomeCon, that's one of the events that I would say is a can't miss event, because you never know who is going to stand up and share the stories that they've had. And some of these experiences that people share are truly mind-blowing. Some of them are genuinely terrifying.
Yep.
Some of them are very hopeful and inspiring, and very very reassuring. And like Roger was saying a moment ago with the podcast, the Soul of the Unexplained, and that's Soul, SOL, of the Unexplained. We do that because we want to help destigmatize this term of paranormal. There's still a lot of people that when they hear the word paranormal, they kind of instantly put up that wall of, okay, here we go again, but the reality is, and what Roger and I have found, and Jeff, maybe you've experienced the same thing, but with our podcast, and bear in mind, we've only done really 5 episodes so far, is that every time we've done an episode, we've always, without fail, had at least one, sometimes as many as 5 people will contact me or Roger privately and say, you know what, I wouldn't ever say this to anybody in public, but I had a paranormal experience too, and I got to tell you about it. Yep. And it's like the great thing that you learn about going to an event like this Voice of the Believers event that they had at PhenomeCon is you really truly get to understand that you are not alone in not only your interest of these things, but your experience of these things. And what a wonderful thing to be able to share that moment with people. And the coolest thing about it, which you didn't mention, Jeff, because of course I got to mention food, is we had this amazing Western barbecue chuck wagon dinner that was just, Dutch oven cooking, some of the most amazing food that I had during all of PhenomeCon is at that event. So the organizers really, really knew what they were doing when they put that Voice of the Believers thing together, because it's nice to have that informal setting and people that can. What I find is people gain strength from each other, and they gain courage from each other. There's a lot of people that want to share the experiences that they have, but for whatever reason, they're afraid of being ridiculed, teased, mocked, marginalized, whatever. But when you've got people coming together and sharing their experiences in this kind of a light, it for want of a better word, it normalizes it, and it should be normalized. And that's kind of what the whole reason for Roger and I doing the Soul of the Unexplained podcast is. And with so many great guys out there like yourself, Jeff, that do the same exact thing, it's just really nice. And I got to give a massive shout out to all the insiders that are there. I see a couple who I recognize, Vesta May, and is that Miriam there? I think I see as well.
Miriam's here watching, and B Jones, and Kate is here. Wolf Kate Witch is here. Christina's here.
All awesome people. I know it doesn't seem this way, and especially if you saw me at PhenomeCon, I'm kind of a big guy. I'm about the same size as Caleb, for reference. But I'm actually, despite being a radio host and a performer and all that stuff, I'm actually a very shy and timid kind of person. I'm generally not the kind of guy that makes the first move in introducing myself to people, but most people will find that once they start talking to me, like now, I don't shut up.
Unless you bring out his New Yorker side, then
they do.
It brings out. Forget about it. Go park the car, walk the dog. You know what I'm saying? It's one of those things. Whatever.
I tell you, and that was one of the great things about PhenomeCon too, was meeting all the other insiders. And I got to tell this little story, and it just blew me away. That right, I show up there. I shows up here. I'm trying to pull mine out now. I showed up there on Wednesday. They had where you could go in, you got to register, or you can go in and check in and get your pass and all that kind of stuff. And I pull up in the parking lot, and I go around to the passenger side of the truck, and I'm getting out a couple of things. There's nobody in the parking lot. There's like 5 cars in this giant parking lot because it hasn't really started yet, right? The event. Car pulls up about 4 stalls over. I'm over here getting my stuff out of my truck and everything. And then I hear, "Hey, Jeff Freeman." I'm like, I turn around, and it's Eva. Eva was there, and she's one of the insiders, and she watches the podcast. And I was like, oh my gosh, the very first person that I meet at PhenomeCon, and it's somebody that is another insider, and we took off right there. I mean, that was it. And her and I, we kind of hang out at different times during the show. She was actually on the little walk around live show that I did during it. I mean, but anyway, like you guys said, I mean, it was a fantastic event. It was put on very, very well. They did a great job. Thomas Winterton is part of that. And I just posted earlier today, a lot of people were talking about the VIP. Hey, you guys are the VIPs. Well, that was another thing that was so cool, is that you guys and we were part of the media that had the press passes there to go to this. And we had a special VIP breakfast with the cast of Skinwalker Ranch, The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch. And it was awesome. And I didn't know that we were going to be allowed to record it. So, I mean, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I got a tripod. I did have a bag of a few things, but I didn't have my good camera. So I'll whip my cell phone, get it on the little miniature tripod there, set it on the table, and I recorded the whole thing. Well, I just put it up on YouTube today. So folks, if you want to check that out, it was the VIP breakfast that we had with the cast of Skinwalker Ranch. And it was great. I mean, we had such a good time. They went around the room, introduced everybody, or we went around and introduced ourselves. And they gave us a special shout out because of the show and because of the fact that we're insiders. And I remember, I think it was you, Jim, you asked the question of how can we get you guys to come on our podcast? I mean, how do we go about doing that? And what was besides Thomas saying he takes bribes, the other thing was that when Travis jumped out and mentioned being an insider, they love the insiders and they so appreciate what we are doing for that. And it was really, really cool that they, and as being an insider, which is that's what the show is, the Insider's Insights, they so much appreciate each and every one of us. Being an insider, folks, is a paid membership. You get a try. There's a free trial you can do to see if you like it. And then later on, it'll charge your credit card or whatever. You can do it monthly or by the year, however you want to do it. And you get to interact with the guys. They're coming. They talk quite. Caleb, you guys had like an hour and a half, 2-hour conversation with Caleb at the PhenomeCon.
We did.
And you guys were talking about all kinds of stuff, but I mean, it's that kind of thing that we also get to do as insiders. We get to share and they get to talk to us. Did I freeze up? Was I frozen there for a second? Probably.
Just momentarily.
My internet. I get Starlink. It's out there doing its best, but it was so cool. And that's what's neat about being an insider. And I have to say also, is that right now the guys are filming. They're filming season 4. So we're very limited on what we get to see in the stream. They just show, this mesa, part of the mesa, or that part of the mesa, because the cameras are basically turned away from where they're filming because we're not supposed to see that stuff, right? But right. I got to tell you, when the filming is done, everybody was thinking, when the filming's over, what are we going to do as insiders? Nobody's going to be at the ranch. Yes, they will. Travis won't be there, but Eric's going to be there. Thomas is going to be there. And we can still do what we do, even more so, I think, going into the winter months and through the rest of the season. Your role as an insider is going to be enhanced after they get done filming.
Completely agree.
Can I just say that
please,
what was really exciting about being an insider and going to the insider only meeting there with Skinwalker Ranch was that not only did we get to see their real personalities, right? Not just their show personalities and their seriousness and things like that, but we actually got to see that they were just down to earth guys. But what's really exciting is being a part of the insider group and with that paid subscription, they announced several things of what they were trying to do to get more people involved. And one thing that really excited me that they were talking about is putting together like a kit for insiders that will mimic a lot of the experiments and tools they have out on the ranch. So we can help with our like own investigations and use these same tools and really understand. And that to me was so exciting, because if I were just watching the show and not part of the insider group, I'd be wanting more. And having that and really being able to now interact with the team, especially when they do this chips and salsa, and we can talk about that. But having this, like Jim mentioned earlier, this community, this family of insiders is great, because we really get to talk to the cast there and the guys, and they're down to earth. And the thing is that we, as the insider group, we're now involved with the investigations. They're coming up with different ways to do experiments to help them even outside of just the normal filming hours. And what was really interesting that they said there, and I think they mentioned it not only at PhenomeCon, but also the insider group, less than 1% of all the film, all the hours really makes it to the Skinwalker Ranch show. So with the insider stuff, we see a lot of what's going on and get that in-depth information. And to me, that's super exciting.
Yeah, it truly is. Yep.
Yeah. Can I just give a shout out to the folks that are here leaving the comments? You guys are just awesome. I'm loving reading all the comments here. This is a great example of why the insider group is just so awesome. You know, just I love reading all the comments, and just there's just it's a great example of what it was like being there in person. Among the ones that attended there in person, is they were so polite and they were so easygoing, so laid back. There was no pretentiousness. It was just, you know, like I said earlier, it was kind of like going to a family reunion. You know, it's like everybody has a shared common interest, and everybody was just really, really cool. Everybody that I met that was an insider, and you know, I just,
and not only them, but also the cast members. Yeah, like I was saying, you guys, we come out of that little the breakfast that was upstairs. We come out of the breakfast and we're on that platform, and you guys were there talking to Caleb, and I kind of hung around for a bit. Then I had to run, and I ran, and you guys stayed up there and talked forever with Caleb. I mean, that's the way it was with everyone. Remember Greg Lawson? I mean, he was coming around talking. Oh, he was one of the speakers and an author.
If you had told me before Roger and I left for PhenomeCon, if you had told me that I would get an opportunity to spend over 2 hours talking about all kinds of stuff, that both related to Skinwalker Ranch and just life, you know, regular life stuff with Caleb, who has always been one of my favorite team members of Skinwalker Ranch. The guy is so humble, and I think Travis introduced him as the man without guile, and that's exactly he's such a kind and compassionate, down to earth soul, and I really. Roger and I definitely connected with him on a lot of levels, and it was just really, really great. And they were all like that. I mean, Eric, I got to talk with Eric, and come to find out that Eric uses the same music production software that I uses. And so Eric and I enjoyed a couple of minutes of geeking out, you know, with each other over using the same software and some of the different things like that. And you know, talking with Tom was great. And Travis, you never get a word in edgewise with Travis. I think we all know that. But just getting to listen to him when the closing reception began downstairs, Travis and the rest of the team stayed back. And Travis just started talking about all kinds of great stuff, and really kind of getting an inside scoop on you know, his perspective on the stuff happening in Congress right now with the National Defense Authorization Act and the UFO amnesty that has been rolled into that package. And, you know, just really great insights that you can't get anywhere else unless you happen to, you know, get him on an interview. And it was so great to see, just as last year, Roger and I learned how approachable all of these guys were, and how gracious and how, again, unpretentious they were, and just the coolest, most down-to-earth personalities. And this year it was even more so. I mean, those that were there got to see during Eric Bard's presentation on Saturday.
Oh, that was the best one of all.
when the microphone wouldn't work, and it's just like you get to see. We got to see a side of Eric that just endeared him to me.
Oh my God!
Even more, just to see what he was like. He's like, really, already? Come on, what's up with the mic? You know, I mean, it was just. I mean, we were just howling. It was so funny, but it's little things like that, and you know, it's that's why I'm so happy that this Skinwalker Ranch Insiders group exists, because it not only allows people to have an additional forum to get together and talk with people that share the same interest, because there are some other groups out there on other social media platforms where Skinwalker Ranch is still, you know, kind of, you know, looked at with kind of a bit of a, you know, you guys are the tinfoil hat, you know, woo weirdos out there, but I have not had any of that experience at all with the folks on the Insider team. They are really, truly just legitimate, wonderful people that we've interacted with that just really want to be a part and help wherever they can. And one of the things that if you remember, Jeff, Roger and I were allowed to ask one question during the VIP breakfast. And the one question that I decided to ask the Skinwalker Ranch team was, what can we do, meaning me and Raj, but really all of us, what can we do to further move things along to best help the investigation and the effort going on at Skinwalker Ranch? What can we do to help them? And the response that we got was fantastic. Eric, in particular, was really happy to hear a question like that. And Travis chimed in and said, you know, the best thing that you can do is just let people know that whatever has happened in the past on Skinwalker Ranch, you know, referring specifically to the first Hunt for the Skinwalker book. Travis refers to that as a fabulous book of ghost stories, which it is. But the problem with it is that there's no scientific data to back up the experiences that are written about in there. They're all just basically, you know, none of them are really from a first-person perspective, right? And so, because it's well known that Bigelow's team did not do a very good job of passing along the results of the experiments and investigations to Brandon's team when Brandon took possession, and I think Dragon's the one that described it as, it was basically, well, here's the keys. Good luck. Yeah, you know? Exactly. And instead of really giving them anything, you know, quantifiable to go off of for a starting point, data-wise, for their own investigations. And if you think about it, it's kind of silly, because if I'm not mistaken, Bigelow, one of the terms of him selling to Brandon was that Brandon would continue the research at Skinwalker Ranch. And so he was adamant about maintaining that investigation still going on, but yet he didn't share any of the data that him and his team had culled over a decade's worth of research on the ranch. And that always kind of struck, well, I guess it was actually almost 20 years, wasn't it? Yeah. But still, you know, it's like, why didn't they, you know, it just made no sense to me. And so yeah, to get back to my question, they were saying, well, let's, you know, try to get people not to focus on the stuff that's happened in the past, you know, the dino beaver and all the stories and all that stuff. Instead, get people to focus on what we're doing right now, simply because the data, you know, now that Brandon's team, and especially with the Insider team being formed, they're being fully transparent. And I can't think of any other scientific investigation or paranormal investigation that offers this degree of not only transparency, but interconnectivity with the people that are actually conducting the scientific experiments, as they are doing on Skinwalker Ranch and with this Skinwalker Ranch Insider team. It is truly an absolutely groundbreaking idea, and such a forward, progressive thinking idea that they came up with for this Insider team. And I mean, honestly, I feel bad because I don't post much in the Facebook Skinwalker Ranch Insider group. Again, it's that whole shyness thing for me. But I see the things that people post, and there's just really the dedication and the passion that the people in this Insider group have is just, it's so contagious. You know, it really is. And so again, I as a fellow insider, I offer my many thanks to all of you that are here and that will be watching later, that are members of this team, that know what that means to be a special part of a part of a group like this. So
Yeah.
there I go, talking too much. I will.
No, you're fine. That's good. Yeah, you're well said. Because that's exactly right, and that's something that Shannon had said. Shannon DeSalvo, she is one of the moderators. Actually, she does so much. I mean, she really does, and she got a shout out during the breakfast video. And again, folks, I put this I recorded the entire breakfast video that we had, the VIP breakfast video. I recorded it, put it up on my YouTube channel earlier today. It's about an hour long, about 57 minutes, something like that. And all I had was my cell phone. So sorry about that. The audio quality and the video quality isn't all that great, but we put it together and put it out there. But again, Travis talked about that very thing. And so did Eric, because you asked the question, what can we do? And that's something that when I walked around, I did a little live stream on Saturday where I walked around with my camera, or my cell phone, and I was live streaming here on YouTube. And I went around and talked to everybody. And that's the thing that Travis had mentioned. He had just mentioned it while I forget who was up on stage that was speaking, and he was off to the side, and he walked up to one of the mics and he asked them that question. He was talking, but that was something that, and then he spoke to me about it, was that now that the bag has been opened, cat's out of the bag from our government saying, yes, UAPs are real. We just don't know what they are. Will we ever get the full story on that? Probably not. And that's okay. But at least now they've admitted that they are real and they just don't know what they are. Okay. Now that that's opened, let's get this into academia.
Absolutely.
Start working on the studies to actually study this phenomena and find out more about it. Take the stigma away. Like you said, throw that out the window. It's gone.
It's
all that stuff is gone now because it's been admitted. Go ahead.
You're absolutely right. And the thing that always bothered me with mainstream academia, and forgive me, one of the examples I think of every time I bring up this up is Neil deGrasse Tyson, the great astronomer and physicist. There's always this term that seems to come out called settled science. And I mentioned that to Travis, and Travis responded with a very quick retort of just me paraphrasing here, there is no such thing as settled science. Science by definition can never really be settled, because once you close that door, close that book on science, you're literally cutting off your nose to spite your face, and it's just why would anybody do that? Why would anybody who claims to be engaged in the pursuit of knowledge and engaged in the pursuit of science close the door by saying, oh, well, it's settled science, or more so like with what we see on Skinwalker Ranch. I've just recently, since we've been back from PhenomeCon, I've been going back and rewatching season 3, and I'm just amazed at how often we keep hearing, the physics that are involved in the things that we're seeing. We just can't explain that we don't understand. We don't have an understanding of the laws of physics that are allowing us to see these things taking place. The instant acceleration and deceleration,
yes.
All that kind of stuff. And now you're absolutely right, Jeff. The mainstream media, for the most part, I think there's still a little bit of reticence on their part, reluctance, yes, if you will.
Is. Yeah.
However, it's definitely gotten better. And while I'm not particularly a fan of Fox News, forgive me, but Tucker Carlson has been doing some phenomenal interviews lately, like with Gary Nolan and a lot of other physicists. And we need to be seeing more of these, mainstream news networks, CNN, MSNBC, Fox, the main networks, ABC, CBS, NBC, getting more of these things on there. And it was great, what was it, a year or two ago when Lou Elizondo and the fighter pilots that were involved in the Tic Tac incident were on 60 Minutes. I mean, 60 Minutes, that is arguably the biggest, news show in the United States.
Yep.
And so to have them devoting a huge segment to UAPs and talking about them very openly with Lou Elizondo was absolutely fantastic. And we need more of that, because that is how you really, truly break down those walls, and you truly, again, normalize the subject, which is what we're trying to do with our podcast. And there's so many other great podcasters like yourself, Jeff, that are doing that. And every time we talk about it, every time we get people together, we break down that wall a little bit more, piece by piece. And that's what it all comes down to.
Yeah, we absolutely have to do that. And again, that's something that Travis is very adamant about. And he doesn't like the people. He talks about he got there was a couple of times that he gets very passionate about something. In the last day of the PhenomeCon, he was the second to last speaker. And he got very fired up during that, during that his talk there. And even when he was in the breakfast, he got very fired up about stuff. He is very passionate about this. And again, he looks at it from a technical and a scientific side. And so does Eric. Eric's very, Eric's like a robot. The guy's, well, he never sleeps and all that. They're always talking about how he never sleeps. But again, that's exactly what they're all about, is to try to tear down those barriers, like you said, and start really get more people. And again, that's what we as insiders are helping to do. Eric said on that video, the breakfast video, also that, Thomas said that they had just received approval to start putting together a plan to which the insiders can help.
Yep.
Because we talked about and that's the thing about the insiders, such a diverse group of people with different backgrounds and so much education in software engineering and just all the different aspects that can truly help the guys. Now they are given the green light to kind of help. They can't talk about the show, guys. I mean, they did not discuss season 4 with us. They just could not do that because they're under NDA to not talk about it. And that's why right now the cameras are looking at the Mesa and not down there. It's, Homestead 2 or whatever. But that's the whole thing, is now they're getting the green light. Now they have to figure out how to put it together, to go to put that together in the future and involve us more. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. That's going to be a great, and I cannot wait to be part of it. I mean, we already are. I spotted a UAP. They've got a spreadsheet, folks, that when you spot somebody, if you're one of the people that are watching the live stream and you see something weird happen, you can back it up and look at it again and again and again. And then if you see something, you really think, you got to tell everybody else, hey, at 09/08/32, I saw something. Can you guys go look at it? Everybody will go look at it, and they all jump in and give their opinion. And then somebody will say, we need to log that or not. Oh, that was a bird. Look at it slowly. You can see it's a bird, whatever.
Right.
But then they go and log it into the spreadsheet that was created. I think Shannon was the one that was involved in creating that spreadsheet. But you can go in there and log what you saw, the timestamp and everything, and the little video of it, and other people can go and watch. I got to do that. And I did. I saw a UAP go zip. I don't know how I happened to be glancing up there at that moment, and I saw it flash by. And then I went and looked at it again and again, and I copied it, and then I've got it saved. I've got it on my, in my video folder. And then I slowed it down, and it's a dot of light that came out about, up on the screen, not all the way up in the corner. It all of a sudden appeared, but it was gone. I mean, it flew by so fast, and I slowed it down, and it was the same type of UAP they see, the little white ball.
Right.
It zipped by so fast, and it was incredible. I am so excited about doing that,
It appears that Lucy has siblings, right?
Yes, Lucy, and they've actually shown that. They were showing it at PhenomeCon, the Lucy video. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say again, there is, when you go through the people that are members of the insider group, at least from what I see on Facebook, there are people that are really truly professionals in the field of the relevant science that is needed to do further investigation there on the ranch. There are, as you said, there are software engineers, there are people that are anthropologists, archaeologists that are I know there's at least one or two other audio engineers like myself that are, we made a career out of, sound. We know how to manipulate sound and how to clean up sound. And, there's one guy on there that was a radio expert that really seemed to know what he was talking about the various radio frequencies, and was able to speak intelligently about the 1.6 gigahertz frequency and what one of his hypotheses might have been for why that particular thing kept coming up. So I think it's great, and I'm really excited and looking forward to how this is going to evolve, based off of what they told us there in that breakfast about how they're just getting the legal clearance to proceed forward with that. And it's again, where else in the world is there another paranormal or scientific on the frontier, cutting edge of science, with this kind of participation and this kind of transparency from the people that are running the investigation? It's unparalleled. There is no equal that I'm aware of, and it's truly a beautiful thing to be a part of this. Truly a privilege.
It really is. Yep. Yeah, it truly is, and I'm excited about it myself. And like I said too, is that I'm really looking forward to. As I mentioned earlier, they're filming right now, and because they're filming right now, we don't get to see as much as we did before they were filming. Well, that'll be wrapping up here in about another month, I think. They filmed for like 3, and they'll be wrapping up here pretty soon. And then they'll be able to really, I think then us as insiders will get even more, because there's going to be more. How many cameras? Remember when Thomas was talking about, him and Eric were talking about, there's like, I don't know how many cameras. I don't even remember, but my mind is.
I think he said they're putting up 12 new cameras.
Yeah, and they got like 100 and some already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's getting more and more. There are going to be more cameras. There are going to be more of them jumping around. And that's right. Yeah. Thank you, Linda. Linda just reminded me they've always had 8 episodes. This season is going to be 14 episodes. So that's awesome. I mean, I'm really looking forward to that. 14 episodes. And as Thomas said before, they figured out that it's like a 1% or less than 1% of what they film actually makes it to the show, on the show. All the rest of it is archived, or they keep it and they might show it later or whatever. They do recycle stuff from time to time. We know that Prometheus does that, but we only see about 1% of all the experiments. So people are like back here going, well, why didn't they do this? Why didn't they do that? Chances are they did, and it just didn't make the show for whatever reason.
Well, and the great example that was given was Thomas clarified, in season 1, I think it is, where the attack on the llamas happens. And it was a point of contention between the team members and Prometheus, or the History Channel, the way that they cut it and edit it, because it's all that you see is like these angles where you can't really tell what's attacking the llamas, but you can clearly see the llamas are under extreme stress. Right. And then they don't really come back and revisit it in the following episodes. And Thomas says, well, the explanation is quite simple. It was merely a pack of dogs that had wandered in from the neighboring reservation land, res dogs, as people that live near reservations tend to call them. And these dogs had just wandered onto the Skinwalker Ranch property and saw the opportunity, and they attacked the llamas, and that's all there was to it. There was nothing supernatural or paranormal about it, but yet the way that it was portrayed was, what could this be? Right. And the reality was a much more mundane and prosaic explanation behind it. But it's thankfully things like that haven't been taking place. That kind of a situation. And I remember Thomas was saying that they really kind of, let the folks there know, hey, don't do that to us. Don't make it look like we're, creating drama when there isn't any need to create the drama. And that's one of the things that, for me anyway, all along, ever since the show started, comparing it to some of the other shows that are out there that deal in the realm of the paranormal, the only other one that I can think of that really kind of has the same type of vibe as The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch is Expedition Bigfoot, because they use the same scientific method, the same, what you see is what you get, what you see is what's really happening, whereas some of these other shows that are out there, I have Discovery Plus, and I'll watch some of them, and they're just they're like how can you take this seriously? It's like I was watching one the other just last night. I turned on one called Vampires in America, and I was thinking, oh, this will be interesting, and I couldn't even get through the first 20 minutes before I had to. I'm going to go watch Bugs Bunny.
Yeah.
But
Exactly.
that's one of the things that I love about this show is that there's no BS about it. It's just very straightforward, and Brandon being very adamant that the show not be scripted, that it just be allowed to unfold as it is. And as you said, Thomas mentioned that each episode is roughly, it boils down to about 42 minutes or thereabouts when you factor in the commercials.
Yep.
But they actually, at the end of each season, are averaging right around 42,000 to 43,000 minutes worth of footage. So think about that. You're absolutely right. It's basically 1% of what actually transpires actually makes the cut on the editing floor, or doesn't end up on the editing floor,
right.
and makes it into the show. So quite obviously there's some creativity that goes on there for being able to build a show that is exciting, that viewers can, be taken in by, but it still comes down to the fact that they don't have to fake anything simply because reality is
too
crazy enough. Yeah. It's like they don't have to make stuff up, because what happens naturally or unnaturally on the ranch, it's astounding enough. Really is.
That's one of my favorite quotes, besides Eric's quote about what they're doing there. But Thomas made a quote one time. It was actually on one of the episodes, and he said, "If nothing unusual happens, that will be unusual." And I love that, because that's exactly right. If nothing unusual happens, that's going to be unusual, because it always does weird stuff. Good question here from Robot. He was asking, are the paranormal occurrences happening only at this ranch? Are the other neighbors having similar experiences? Who wants to take a stab at that?
Blind Frog Ranch, right, Raj?
No, I think that's
did I say that?
Question. When
Go ahead,
you're looking
Roger.
at the paranormal experiences, so it's not located at or centrally located at the ranch. In talking with the Skinwalker Ranch team, especially Caleb and Thomas, who have been there and grown up, within the Uintah County, they shared experiences that this happens all over the basin. And it's not just at the ranch, but even many, many years ago when the ranch was much larger and there was a lot more property to what is now Skinwalker Ranch. There's been, I guess, phenomenon happening all over there. And so, it's been great. If you don't know, there's a guy by the name of Junior Hicks who passed away just recently, but he was a science teacher there. And he went about and interviewed all of these residents there in the Uintah County Basin. And he put together a lot of information of just the UAP, UFOs, and things that happened, and put them into a database, and then shared that with the team at Skinwalker Ranch. And so, it's happened all over, and it would be fun to see, because I've seen in the chat people are talking about maybe some extra or like an additional Skinwalker Ranch show that delves into other things, but even just talking about with the residents of what happened in the past, because there have been newspaper clippings even back early 1900s there where things were just happening, and it's made news all over the place. So
that's very true. Go ahead.
There's reports literally all over the region, and we're talking a very large geographic region. We're talking several hundred square miles at least, that comprises the Uintah Basin. And one of the only paranormal experiences I ever had was in the basin, located probably, Raj, maybe an hour and a half to the west of where Skinwalker Ranch is, but still it's kind of on the outskirts of where the Uintah Basin is. So there's also a documentary out there. Jeremy Corbell did called The Hunt for the Skinwalker. It came out about three or 4 years ago. And in that, he actually talks to a lot of people that live in the vicinity of the ranch that are direct neighbors of the ranch. And they talk about all kinds of UAP sightings, not so much actual Skinwalker sightings, but definite UAP and UFO sightings. In fact, I believe there was a guest that was brought on the show this season by the name of Corey Sarawap. He's a Ute tribal member that lives in the area.
Yes. Yep.
And I believe Corey is also in that Jeremy Corbell video, Corbell documentary, where he goes into greater detail about the healthcare center that he works at, where he came out one night and they had a UAP that was very, very close to them at that time. And so these activities have been going on for a very long time, and there's apparently historical records that go back clear to the time of when Father Escalante, who was coming through with the Spanish and Mexican missionaries that came through. This would have been in the 1700s, Raj, something like that.
I think that's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's reports of strange lights in the sky, all that kind of stuff going clear back, even really hundreds of years. And for those of you that if any of you went on the McConkey Ranch tours that James Keenan did this last time, it was my first time ever going to McConkey Ranch, and I just shared a whole bunch of the videos, a whole bunch of photos on my Facebook page earlier today from that. And James Keenan even relates the story of how the ancient Native American inhabitants of the area were always, drawing depictions of what appeared to be things happening in the sky. He spoke of how there's folklore and legends of these ancient Native Americans about portals opening up and gateways, interdimensional gateways, and how the origin of their people were called the Star People, and how they basically came into our world from another dimension via the means of what we would call, in present day terms, a portal. And of course, there are legends all over the Uintah Basin, and there are actual reports. Colonel John Alexander, who was actually the very first NIDS employee by working for Robert Bigelow. Colonel John Alexander talks about having seen portals opening when he was on the ranch.
I remember that.
And whatnot. And there's reports of not just portals opening up, but craft, creatures coming out. But that all happened before Brandon Fugel's team took over. And there does appear, like on the in season 2, I think, when they brought Rabbi Zadok on.
Yes, that was awesome.
And they did that ancient Hebrew ceremony where it was specifically to open a portal. And near as they could tell, the thermal imaging that was focused on the homesteads showed, the amorphous, black area, which in thermal imaging means that it's a black area means that it's very cool. Whereas the ambient temperature surrounding it was still 80, 90 degrees. There's no known scientific explanation that would explain that away that was readily available anyway. So, and then this last season, if you want my personal opinion, I think it's in the 4th episode of season 3 when they have the Salt Lake Astronomical Society. And I have to put a plug in for that because my wife's father is actually a member of the Salt Lake Astronomical Society.
Oh, wow.
So,
that's awesome.
But during that episode, there's 2 really, really significant things that happen in that episode. And the first of which is when Caleb is shining that green laser up into the sky. What happens to it? It gets cut off, or the way that I would describe it is that it's reflecting off of some unknown, unseen hard surface up in the sky, where the quote unquote anomaly is situated. So you have that happening, and a laser, you point a laser up into the sky, it's going to go unobstructed clear up to the atmosphere. But it was clearly was clearly hitting some unseen
Something. It
object,
definitely was. Yeah.
or something that caused the progression of the beam to be cut off.
Mhm.
And then not only that, it bends and then splits it, which,
Right.
how are they
That
doing that?
doesn't happen.
Right. But then shortly after that, if you'll recall, what takes place is there is a huge, brilliant, momentary flash of light up in the
Yes.
sky.
Yep.
And, Travis puts forth the theory. Obviously, he's not saying that this is what happened. He's just saying one possible explanation is that may be the entry point or the end point of a wormhole. Well, a wormhole is what we would also refer to as a portal, right? Because it
Right.
would basically be punching a hole in the fabric of space and time. Is the general, easy explanation for what a wormhole is. It allows 2 points in space and time.
Yep.
Let's say you want to get from point A to point Z. Instead of having to travel from points B through Y, you just simply fold, and bam, they're right there. You go instantly from point A to point Z without having to worry about traveling that vast
All the
distance
way in
between
between.
points B and
Right.
Y. So yeah, and that is what really excites me, is seeing stuff like that has
Yep.
actual scientific foundation behind it, and they're approaching it from a scientific perspective, trying to verify or falsify their own hypothesis that they used to come up with. And that's one of the many things that excites me about the show.
And I want to show this here real quick too. This is something that this is what I was talking about earlier about Eric and his statement that he made. We are not here to believe. We are not here to disbelieve. We are here to observe. And he said that a couple of times during the PhenomeCon. That's their mantra. That's his mantra. And I think it absolutely stands for them all, because that's exactly right. They're not going in saying, okay, I want to believe there's UAPs here, so I'm going to do everything I can to prove that. No, they're going in to just see what the evidence, where it takes them. And that evidence will take them somewhere as they collect it and they go on. And they're coming up with new things. That's what, and that's the minds, you watch, between, all of them are scientists. I don't care what anybody says. Dragon, Thomas, Caleb, every single one of them is even Lindy and Tom. They are part of this investigation, and they're all scientists in their own right. So, you talk about, some of them say, well, I'm just, like Dragon or Bryant, talks about that, but he is part of this investigation. He is one of them, one of the investigators that's taking place here. And it's funny to watch Eric and Travis come up with contraptions. They're always building, like when they were doing the bottles and they were putting the GPS tracking inside the bottles and all that different stuff that they were making. I'm like, who does this kind of stuff? Who makes their own circuitry? To make their own device. They do, but it's truly amazing to watch what they are doing. And I cannot wait for season 4 to come out and to see what they couldn't tell us, but yet they were like, you're going to really like season 4 and the experiments that they've been doing. Everybody's like asking them, Dad, did you dig into the mesa? Did you blow up the mesa? No. And they have to be very surgical about whatever they do, because they don't want to destroy, if there is anything under there, they don't want to destroy it by going in there and blowing it up. I mean, let me ask you, that whole section when they were putting the smoke bombs in on the show,
Mhm.
and the smoke was immediately coming out at first and then getting sucked inside. And to me, that whole part of the mesa wall looks like it has been collapsed in on itself.
I agree.
You agree with that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep,
I thought so too.
I completely agree.
Was it a natural occurrence? They had the one guy, and I cannot remember his name for the life of me, but they had the one guy that came out there and they were talking about if it had been a natural collapse, you would have seen the like the sand or the loose material would have washed out into underneath the rock. You would have the rock fall down, and then the loose material would have washed out, and there's no evidence of that at all.
Yeah.
So how did it collapse? Was it done purposely? That's where, Christopher Bartell comes in,
Yeah, Chris Bartell is an absolute amazing resource for for Skinwalker Ranch, and he takes some of the most breathtaking photos. I mean, really, I don't know a whole lot of his story, but what I do know of his story, I mean, what a great guy. I mean, just you know, the things that
He's
I'm
gonna
sure.
come on the show, by the way.
Is he? Oh,
Yeah, he's gonna come on the show. We
I'm-
haven't got a date yet because he's really busy right now. But yeah, he said he would.
I'm really
Sorry,
looking
go ahead.
forward to that one then. But yeah, I guess that's the $1 million question then. You know, if there was a structure that was collapsed, was it done by Bigelow's team? Was it done by somebody before the Shermans or the Myers took possession of the ranch? Or
Right.
is it something that whatever or whomever it is that's behind all the anomalies and strange phenomena, did they do it? And did they do it to be sort of like a protection for whatever is inside the mesa? You know, we clearly know from this last season that there is a large metallic object of unknown origin or composition, really deep within the mesa. That's really all that we know. And then when you factor in that, plus the stories of people witnessing UAPs coming in and out of the mesa,
I know, that's incredible.
It's kind of like, you know, that moment in what is it, Black Panther and the Avengers movies where, you know, it's like you look like you're going to be flying into the side of a mountain, and it turns out that that's just you know, like
Odd.
an illusion. Yeah. And so not that I would volunteer to crash a plane or a drone
I don't want to try.
into the mesa to try it, but you never know, right?
Yeah, I want to be the one that tries it. Yeah.
But yeah, that's that. And what a fascinating thing to find out that with those metal flakes, which was really cool. Those people that got to go to PhenomeCon actually got to see those metal flakes up close.
Yeah, we did.
And you can actually see on one side, they are very clearly, just as they described in the TV show, two different elements, two different kinds of metal that appear to be fused together.
Yep.
Now,
Europium and tellurium, something like that.
Europium and tellurium, yeah,
Tellurium, yeah. Mm-hmm.
yeah, and it's one of those things that they had analyzed by the University of Utah. One of the I guess they did a metallurgical analysis or whatever the term is, but indicated that it was a not a natural process that brought those elements together. They were fused. And then for Travis, didn't Travis say that it was similar? You find the same elements present in the heating tiles of the space shuttle and spacecraft. So again, you know, it's just one more little potential piece of the puzzle that, you know, is that object in there maybe some kind of a dormant spacecraft of some kind, or, you know, who knows? Is it a power source? You know, is it a generator of some kind? Which would make sense because of all the strange electromagnetic anomalies that are occurring out there. But that still doesn't hold a candle to that image that they shared about what's above the triangle. I mean, I'm still trying to wrap my head around that.
Yeah. So are you talking about at the insiders meet and greet? They had I took a picture of that. I mean, they showed it to us. We all were taking pictures. I suppose I could share that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Let me see if I could find it real quick. But yeah, that was and that was really another thing that was really cool about the PhenomeCon was the insiders meet and greet when we all got there. And I was they were expecting like 100 like 50 people. How many do you think were in there? How many folks do you think were in that?
Didn't they say that there were just over 250 insiders that were there? and it seemed like it. I mean, the room was full.
It was
packed. Yeah, they had to bring in more chairs and
and that was the funny thing. Yeah, that was the funny thing too, was that, you know, you look over and there's Thomas. Thomas is puffing chairs in, you know. So I was standing by the edge there for a little bit, so I went over and grabbed some and was helping with that too. But I mean, you know, the guys are so they're so cool about that. I mean, they were all just jumping in. I was trying to find that picture I've got, and I cannot find it. Looking at the McConkey Ranch stuff, that's where we met Miriam. Miriam's out there. She just said that was awesome to see, and it was that anomaly. I can't
just while you're doing that, if I can answer a couple of questions I see in the comments section. Let's see, Jan, could these be metals that come from a meteor? My My understanding is maybe, but my understanding is also that with meteors, you tend to get a high concentration of what they call iridium. And while there has been iridium deposits found elsewhere, very nearby the ranch, including that was one of the things they claimed to have found up on Blind Frog Ranch. But I'm not aware of them coming across any iridium or anything that leads them to believe that it was necessary a meteor in nature. And then C. Fulton, could the metal be from the Challenger? I would be tempted to say no, simply because that blew up in Florida, off the coast of Cape Canaveral, if I'm not mistaken. And all the debris and stuff from that would have been centralized right there in Florida. Columbia might be the one you're thinking of, the one that blew up on reentry, disintegrated in reentry in what was it, Raj? 2003, 2004, somewhere like that.
Yeah.
Roger and I were actually working at eBay at the time of the Columbia explosion.
Oh, really?
And we actually, eBay had to go into high gear because people were actually, as soon as the debris was falling from the sky and hitting the ground,
they were collecting parts and trying to sell it.
They were trying to sell it on eBay, which of course is all kinds of morbid aspect to it, but also illegal. So no, I don't. I mean, I never say never, but I wouldn't think that. My understanding is the Columbia was disintegrating more over Texas and far more south than the state of Utah. So I don't think there was probably much chance of that being the case. But certainly all excellent suggestions, excellent questions, and I'm not a subject matter expert. I just I'm a big history buff, and that's really the only authority that I have. That and tacos. I love tacos. Have I mentioned that I like tacos? Yeah.
They were awesome too. Yeah. Really? I'm getting an update. Linda just sent me an update. Chargers 3, Chiefs 0. 1 minute left in the first quarter. Okay.
Chargers are winning?
Yeah, 3-0. I mean, yeah. So, yeah.
Well, I don't have Herbert or Mahomes on my fantasy team, so
yeah, there you go.
Go Raiders. Yeah. We won't mention that the Chargers beat them on Sunday.
No, yeah, we won't mention that, right? Okay, so I'm a Chargers fan still. My son and I, we both like the Chargers, and from living in San Diego years ago. But anyway, so that's a subject for another show, another episode we have to do at some time. But okay, so let me ask you guys. All right, I asked this question of all the insiders because I think it's really a fun one to kind of jab at. And Roger, you haven't said a whole lot lately, so I'm going to ask you first. Skinwalker Ranch. We know there is high strangeness happening there. Do you have some ideas at what might be causing it that you'd like to share with us? What do you think is going on out there? Just your theory, if you don't mind sharing.
No, that's a really good question. And as I think about all my knowledge and everything that's happened there, it's kind of hard to hone in on just any one theory, because it makes me think back about what Travis Taylor said, that the Uintah Basin is shaped like a disc, and was hit by a meteor.
Yep.
I'm not for sure how many thousands of years ago.
Yep, I looked it up too. Yeah.
But there's a lot of interesting metal there, things in the ground, and one thing that I would say is that the Uintah Basin is definitely full of. I mean, you've got fossil fuels out there. You've got the Dinosaur National Monument. You've got a lot of different things and metal, precious metals coming out of the ground there. And it's also steeped in a lot of Native American history.
Yes.
So you've got not only the Ute tribe there, and several other tribes, Navajo. I think what is it, Jim? The Ore.
Yeah, the Navajo, the Ute, and the Ore.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got a lot of history there. And then not only that, but you have the Spanish coming through, and really all those tales of Aztec treasure and, Montezuma's treasure, when
and then you've
yeah,
got all the Mormon folklore and legends that are prevalent out there.
absolutely. So there's a lot of theories and things that a lot of people have, but simply put, my theory is that there has to be something to do with the area and with the metals and things in the ground, and just how those are manipulated. I'm really interested in the Native American stories because
Yes.
As we were looking at the McConkey Ranch petroglyphs and talking with James Keenan, he made a lot of different comparisons about the Native Americans and what these actual petroglyphs look like, and talked about portals and opening up. And really, I think if you want to define something as spiritual, because it means different things to different people in different cultures, but there is something on that level that is happening there. And I really think it has to do with a lot of your beliefs and what is going on there. And yeah, like the magnetic fields all over there, all over the place. So for me, it just comes down to, I think that there's a lot of different ways that we as people can manipulate whatever's in the ground there. And there is, to me, it seems like there's an intelligence there. Whether it's an interdimensional being, right? Or something that has been here that just we haven't discovered yet. It definitely has that ability to manipulate thoughts and feelings of anybody that's there. So I know a lot of people have like really good things and feelings. Other people have fear. But there's just a lot in the area that can be manipulated. And I definitely think it comes in how we interact with the ground there and the metals.
Yep. Jim, same question. What do you think, man? What do you think's going on there?
Well, that's what makes Skinwalker Ranch so unique, is that it's a little bit of everything.
It truly is.
It's a lot of people have described it as a paranormal Disneyland, because you have on one hand, you've got classic trickster or poltergeist like activity.
Yep.
Which is also, you can roll in the hitchhiker effect with parts of that. You've got what are UAP craft sightings, UFOs. So you're hitting on that one. You've got cryptids that are reported to have been seen. Mostly all those stories go back to before the Brandon's team taking over. So
correct.
We don't really know how much stock we can place in all of that.
Right.
You've got orbs that appear to be under some kind of intelligent control or self-awareness, sentience of some kind.
Right. Yep.
And there are, of course, the capper for me is the reports of portals. So it's a little bit of everything. It could be all of the above, and sometimes it seems to be all of the above happening from time to time. But is it one particular thing? I don't think anybody can really accurately speak to that, because there are some things that happen that very clearly seem to fit inside one box. Like, this is classic poltergeist, classic trickster phenomenon.
Yep.
But then you have something really malicious happen, like what happened with Tom Winterton before season 1 began filming, where he had his scalp separating from his skull. And then you have, something like that. What is the explanation for that? Was it exposure to real extreme radiation plus other forces as well, gravitational forces? There's reports all over the region of there being gravitational anomalies. In fact, at one time back in the 1970s or 1980s, NASA actually ran a top secret program out in the Uintah Basin, and they called it Gravity Base Vernal. And there's actually
I didn't know much about it.
there's actually a survey marker that is still out there in the location where they were running that. Now, whether or not that was ever actually revealed and explained as to what that was, I don't know if there's been any FOIA requests to disclose what exactly they were doing out there at this gravity-based Vernal.
Mhm.
But the fact that they were clearly investigating gravitic anomalies really kind of adds one more layer to all this mystery. You know, there's just too many things going on, I think, to really say definitively one way or the other that it's demons, or it's, you know, this or that, or it's, you know, it's skinwalkers. And the reality is, even though the name of the property is Skinwalker Ranch, to the best of my knowledge, nobody that's there on the ranch right now has actually seen a cryptid or a skinwalker or anything of that nature. Does that mean it can't happen or won't happen? I don't think you or I are in a position, nor is anybody, to say one way or the other definitively. But I believe that what is happening out there is very real. We know that much because they're actually, unlike the Bigelow's team, they are documenting it. They are backing it up with the data. They are conducting experiments and getting repeatable results in these experiments, which is essential to forming a really solid hypothesis and verifying one way or the other. Okay, can we check this off and throw it on the scrap heap, or is there more to this, and what can we do to maybe take this experiment to the next phase? And so some of this, the realm of the paranormal, some of this stuff, the reason why it's called paranormal is because we just simply don't understand it.
Exactly.
We haven't figured out the science behind it.
Right.
And so until we get a better foothold on what these new laws of physics and science might be that are causing these things to happen, or that we're seeing, wherein we're seeing these happen, I don't think we're going to really have a good idea, because there are, you know, particularly when it comes to the hitchhiker effect, if we can talk about that for a moment, we already know that, you know, Caleb has mentioned that he's had the hitchhiker effect. Tom Winterton has experienced the hitchhiker effect. Travis has, and clearly it's significant enough that he doesn't feel comfortable talking about it yet.
Right.
And he probably won't until his time working at Skinwalker Ranch comes to an end, if even then. Right. But exactly. a couple things that I thought were really interesting. I don't know if you picked up on it was either during the meet and greet on Saturday or during Travis's presentation on Sunday morning, where he actually referenced one of the stories in the Skinwalkers at the Pentagon book. This guy Axelrod, who was one of the DoD guys. I think in 2009 was when Axelrod was on the property, and he was only there one day. Correct, Roger? It was just one day, overnight, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. And this is a guy that was a seasoned military vet, you know, working overseas in Iraq and Afghanistan. So he brought something home with him, and the thing is it didn't mess with him. It first appeared to his wife, and then to his two sons. And not only did it then affect them, but their neighbors started seeing the same anomalies. And so clearly there's something to this, and they've ascribed the term infectious agent model. You know, think of in terms of COVID. You get this you know, patient zero, as they talk about, that contracts this infectious disease, and then they pass it along to one person. That person becomes a vector, and then they just, you know, transmit the virus or whatever the illness is. Right. And that model seems to fit with this hitchhiker phenomenon. Now, the strange thing about it is that not everybody that goes on the ranch experiences that. Dragon, for instance. He's always joking about how he's paranormal kryptonite. You know, just things just don't have any things just don't have any effect on him. Yep. And then you know, Eric didn't go into great detail, but Eric indicated that he's also experienced a couple of things that have given him pause to wonder if maybe he hasn't experienced a little bit of the hitchhiker phenomenon. My understanding is that Brandon has not.
That's what Diane was saying. Yeah, Diane was saying the same thing. Brandon and Brian.
Exactly. So yeah, I just see that now. So yeah, Diane, spot on there. But that's me personally. If I were invited to go out to the ranch, I know that Roger would jump at the opportunity. Full stop. I would not go, not because I'm afraid of what would happen to me. I'd be afraid of bringing something home to mess with my wife and my kids, and because that's what it seems to do. It seems to mess more with the innocence, as it were, as opposed to the people that were actually on the ranch. It's almost like for want of a better word, a punishment. But the thing is that sometimes these hitchhiker things are the playful bit, the playful things, like you set something down. You go to get yourself a drink out of the refrigerator, and you come back, and the item that you just had there sitting on the shelf or the counter of the table is no longer there. I mean, that's classic poltergeist, trickster behavior there. And who knows, is that tied into the Skinwalker curse that the Navajos unleashed on the Utes, or is it?
Oh. How do you explain it? I don't know. Yeah.
I heard one person this weekend put it this way, and it was kind of interesting because it kind of dovetails into what my own personal spiritual beliefs are. But that it's imagine that our reality or our existence has what we would call a veil. Like a veil that comes down over a bride's face during a wedding ceremony, and imagine that there is a veil between our reality and, call it the spirit world, call it another dimension, what have you. And I think that there are, first and foremost, I think there are some people that can actually see through this veil from time to time and can perceive.
April Slaughter.
Exactly. Well, people like her, people that are psychics. I don't know how much I believe in the psychic phenomena, full stop, but I know there are some people that are really good actual psychics that use their ability for good things. I think Cheryl Carter is one, if I'm not mistaken.
She was talking about that. Yeah.
Really fascinating. I'd love to hear more of her background, but again, there are some people that seem to be able to perceive what happens on the other side of the veil. There are moments where some people experience deceased loved ones. They catch a glimpse of them in their home, or they hear their mother or their father or a deceased, departed loved one talking to them. But maybe we have the same kind of thing going on at Skinwalker Ranch, where there is another dimension where, and I believe that this spirit world, if we're going to put it in that kind of a context, on the other side of the veil where this spirit world exists, it probably looks very similar to what they portray in the TV show Stranger Things, where you have the upside down, where it's a mirror image of our world, except the people that are there are disembodied. They no longer have a physical body. And so I think that maybe there's some of that in play with what goes on at Skinwalker Ranch. And it's technically another dimension. And what I mean by that is that the spirit world, assuming one exists, and of course we have no way to prove one way or the other if it does or not. So it's pure speculation and conjecture. But assuming that a spirit world exists, like when you die and your spirit, your essence, your soul lives on,
that energy,
then that energy, very, 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 very good term. I like that. Your energy continues to live on despite your physical death. And it would be in this other dimension where we can't see it with our own five senses. We can't see it with our eyes. We can't, touch it. We can't hear it. But sometimes the veil, the whatever you want to call it, that causes that separation between our reality or our dimension and the other dimension, that veil, I think, sometimes gets very thin. And we already have great prominent physicists such as Dr. Michio Kaku, who believes in this fabulous string theory, which I'm a big fan of. And he believes that there are, I think it's up to like 12 or actually 14 perceivable dimensions that are out there. Now, obviously, we live in a three-dimensional world where we can sense things like height, volume, width, things like that.
Right.
Depth, exactly. But how would people in a fourth dimension, where the fourth dimension elements are time and space, and we can't see time and space, we can't see the effects of time and space, but what if the people that live in another dimension, and I guess one way to think of it is, imagine if you're standing over a goldfish pond, okay, and you see all those beautiful, like if you ever been in a Japanese garden, there's these beautiful koi that are there in the ponds. Well, if you were one of those fish, if you're one of the koi in the pond, and you're looking up and you see, there's these strange beings, and all of a sudden one of them reaches into your dimension and picks you up and takes you out, you're now all of a sudden finding yourself in a completely, foreign, and you have no words to describe what you're seeing and what you're experiencing, because in your dimension, where you can go, only certain directions, in this other dimension, there's a whole other aspect to reality that you were never aware of before.
Right. That's a great analogy. Yep.
And so I think what we're dealing with, perhaps, this is just throwing it out for speculation, maybe that's what we're also dealing with on Skinwalker Ranch, is that this veil, this partition that keeps our reality and other dimensions and other realities apart from each other, maybe sometimes that partition gets pulled back, or it gets so thin to where what happens in those other times and spaces and dimensions leaks into our own. In fact,
bleeds over. Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. And John Dover, the Navajo Ranger that was on this past season, talks about how the Native American tradition believes that those dimensions are interweaved together, and sometimes some things can leak through from one dimension to the other. And so if we're going to take the interdimensional aspect of it, a lot of that, because it's all sheer theory, because we have no way that we're aware of at this point to quantify it and to identify it. But I think if we take the interdimensional approach, that's one potential possibility. But it could also be, it could very simply be that we do have extraterrestrial civilizations that are traveling from whatever part of the universe that they're from to the Uintah Basin. Now, why? That would be anybody's guess. Why would they come here of all places and not somewhere else? But Roger touched upon one of the things that we do have here in the Uintah Basin is an abundance of minerals and precious metals. So there's lots of reasons to support a theory for something like that. But then there's also the possibility that what if what we're seeing here with these UAPs, not just on Skinwalker Ranch, but elsewhere in the world, what if, as Lou Elizondo has said a number of times, what if we find out we are not at the top of the food chain?
Yeah, exactly.
We being human beings. What if there has been another civilization, another race of beings that has always been present on planet Earth, but we're just now, in the last couple of decades, last 80 years, last couple hundred years even, that they're making their presence known, and that we're just now developing the technology that can detect them. And so maybe there's we have stories in the Bible, the city of Enoch, Ezekiel, there's all these stories that are out there. There was a great book that was written many years ago by a man named Mac Tonys called Stalking the Crypto-Terrestrial, or something like that.
I haven't heard of that one.
Where it basically puts forth the theory that maybe these reports that we're hearing of aliens, the stereotypical aliens, the Greys and all that, maybe they're not extraterrestrial. Maybe they are the original inhabitants of this planet. Maybe they are. Or if they're not the original inhabitants, maybe they've been here for eons, and they're just able to make, to keep themselves hidden because their technology is so far advanced from our own. So, that's another aspect to consider. There's it's literally, and that's, I realize that's like the way too long answer that I gave you to your question.
No, that was great. I love your explanation.
That's the problem. I get really passionate about this, and there's always, that's what's so exciting about Skinwalker Ranch is it could be any of these things, or it could be something that it could be none of
We
the
haven't
above. It could
even
be all of the
conceived
above.
of it.
So
Yeah, exactly.
as
I think
long
you're
as there's
exactly right.
tacos, I'm happy.
Yeah, and I think you guys are both right. That's kind of the way I feel about it. I feel that there was like Roger was saying, I think that because of the Uintah Basin, and this is something I mentioned to Thomas when I had him on the show, that the Uintah Basin was a crash site. Now there are some leftover remnants of not crash site of a meteor or an asteroid, is what I meant, not a ship, but maybe a ship too with the metal. But it has created this dish, and with the materials left over, and with the things that happen to their electronics, how they're the compasses go off kilter when they drill into the ground. The magnetometer readings just going crazy. The radiation that shows up for an instant and then is gone. All those things combined together means that there's something happening on not just in the ranch, kind of central on the ranch, but all around in that area. Why? And why do the ships show up there? Why do I say ships? Why do the UAPs show up there? We don't know what they are yet, so I'm going to call them a UAP. But why? Why are they showing up there? Are they able to come by and their need to draw from that energy, whatever it may be? Or is there a portal
Right.
going? And the whole talk about things going into the basin or into the mesa wall and coming out of the mesa wall, I mean, that just blows my mind. We touched
Yeah.
on that too, but it's just I can't. I'm not going to be the guy that tries.
Yeah, and I
Run at that full speed and see what happens.
It's such a daunting proposition to try to get to the bottom of all this. I mean, there's literally so many possible avenues that that it could come down to, and I think that's one of the things that really captivates me about the whole subject of Skinwalker Ranch and really the phenomena that happens, on a fairly regular basis all throughout the Uintah Basin. But there's also other hotspots. Let's not forget, down in Arizona, you got Sedona, you've got Bradshaw Ranch, of course, the legend of Stardust Ranch, where the guy was like an Indiana Jones, swashbuckling alien killer, all that kind of stuff. If you believe any of those legends, but there's all kinds of hot spots all over the world, but I'm not aware of any of them that are as significant with the frequency and the scale as what we see happening on Skinwalker Ranch.
Right. Yeah.
It's like every time I turn around, there's something new and exciting being reported and being discovered out there, and
just some of the things that they saw last season. I think last season was the best of them. Granted, they found some other cool things in the previous season, but last season, the couple things that stood out to me was Lucy, the orb that they captured that was moving around outside of the building of Homestead 2.
Yeah.
Clearly not a bug, clearly not a bird, not a bat, any kind of animal. It was moving around and it was on intelligent. It was like it was looking like something walking around looking for something, and it moved its way around and then it disappeared. It went behind a bush and it was gone. And then all the insiders found one inside Homestead 2, and that's what they were showing at PhenomeCon. So the same kind of orb appeared inside the kitchen of Homestead 2 and actually came over, and it was like it came right up to the camera, hovered there for a second, and then moved off like it was coming to check out the camera. This was captured by insiders, and they were and we told them, and I wasn't there. I saw the after images that were captured from that, but it was just phenomenal. So you have those things like that are being found and documented by the crew at Skinwalker Ranch, by the guys. There's definitely something happening there, and I think they're getting closer and closer by trying different experiments to try to come to an answer of what is going on. They may never get the full answer on this. It may never come, and they may get nothing more than John Edwards called it a paranormal Disneyland. It truly is.
Yeah,
it's a high strangeness Disneyland. Things like that happening all the time. So
Disneyland or Six Flags?
Yeah, I don't know. Six Flags kind of guy. Yeah, actually.
Yeah, me too. I think. Yeah.
Yeah, very good point.
Just get me some bumper cars and I'm happy. Bumper cars and a churro, I'm good.
Yeah, I like the roller coasters in the dark personally. I kind of like those. Yeah, when you have no idea what that turn is going or that fall.
You're on your own there, pal.
Oh man, this has been an awesome discussion, guys. I mean, we're at an hour and 45 minutes. Can you believe that we've gone through that much time already?
Where does the time go?
I know, truly. But I gotta say though that the whole thing, and I'm going to go back to being an insider one more time, folks, and that's what the show is about. It's the insiders' insights, and we've got many insights from both Roger and from Jimm tonight. Really, really cool explanations from both of you on your beliefs and the things that you know. I knew that this show was going to be like that because talking to you both at PhenomeCon, I got the sense that you've got all this stuff that you would information that I wanted to get out on the show, and that's really why I wanted to have you guys on because you're going to have a great podcast, and I hope that I can join you someday on that because I think that
Yes.
having these kinds of discussions is fascinating. Yeah, B. Jones said Lucy was inside Homestead too. Yeah, for sure. And that's the thing. Much of that what we're talking about right now is also talked about in the chat during the times that we're all watching the feeds that are coming through. And the feeds will get back to normal again at some point here once they get done filming. But just the idea that they drag us along with all this is just fascinating.
Yeah,
and
I truly, I just think the world of the team that Brandon has put together out there. I mean, and look at what we've watched them from season 1, where in that very first episode, when they're in Brandon's office and Travis is just skeptical from the get-go, and then we just
what was the term that was used?
Yeah, we've just gradually watched him,
Yeah, that was it. It's funny to hear him tell that story too, because when they first met, and they told it a couple different times to different groups at PhenomeCon about how they felt about Travis when he first got there, and he was looking at them just going, "You guys are batshit crazy," And now he is so involved in what's going on. They made him a T-shirt. We saw it at the Insiders thing. They had a T-shirt.
Yeah. Yeah, those great fans from Louisiana, weren't they? I don't remember their name, but man, that was awesome. Love that.
Yeah, truly, it really was. And again, PhenomeCon was great. I have to hand it to the folks that were there, that were running the show. They helped me so much. Sam was one of the young guys there that was helping, and he was going to a lot of the events. Him and I just seemed to be, I was like following him around all the time to the different events out to McConkey Ranch to see all the Petricus. James Keenan was awesome. The speakers were all awesome, every one of them. And the cool thing about it is that you guys are going to have many of them on your show. I'm going to have many of them on my show. And I got to say too, before I go too, that Mike Owen, he's one of the moderators out at the chat for the Facebook group and also for the YouTube channel of the chat inside there for the insiders. He told me when I was heading out to Utah, he said, "Jeff, I really implore you to take a look at the whole Bigfoot thing and dig into this a little bit, if you would." And so I said, okay, I've always been on the fence with Bigfoot. I'm one of those people that are going, where's the bones? Where's the hide? Where's the hair? Where's the something of tangible evidence? But I'm starting to get my mind.
I could take my shirt off and you would see Bigfoot right there. I mean, I'm a.
All right, well, this is a family show.
I'm of Viking descent, so I've got that.
I can confirm nor deny.
Sorry for the mental picture, folks. Sorry.
But no, that, and it's so that, I talked when I was there, I listened very closely to Dr. Mariah Mayer, and what background. I had no idea from watching the show of her background. She follows after, is it Jane Goodall?
Yep.
And just that whole primate study, who better as one of your researchers to have on a team? And she will tell you, I'm still trying to just see what this is all about. She's not pro Bigfoot. She's not anti Bigfoot. She is a researcher who wants to find out. So after talking with these guys, and then also, Ronnie LeBlanc got up and talked. And then you've got Russell Cord talking. And I got to have breakfast with him too. And it was just, what? I went to him, I said, guys, will you come on the show? Because I really want to get into this a little deeper. And all of them agreed to come on the show. Now, I didn't get Bryce because Bryce was quick. It was like I missed him somewhere along the way. He wasn't around a whole lot, but everybody, all three of them said they will come on the show. Ronnie and Mariah Mayer, Dr. Mayer are going to come on together. They want to come on together on the show, and then I'm going to have Russell Cord come on the show. He's coming on. What a great bunch of people. I mean, all of them were, everybody.
Yeah.
April Slaughter. We went on a ghost hunt with her on Wednesday, on a ghost hunt at the it was one of the hotels. I can't remember the name. It was a hotel there in downtown Vernal, and we went to a ghost hunt. And I actually was able. I asked her. I said, April, would you mind if I've got some microphone here, lapel mic and transmitter stuff? Can I put a mic on you for this? How do you feel about that? And she said, she thought about it for a second, and she said, yes, I'll do it. So I put a microphone on her for the entire event. I've got it all recorded on my camera. And so I cannot wait. I haven't gone through the evidence yet. I got so much to go through. But the whole thing from start to finish, covering all the different stuff at the PhenomeCon was phenomenal. It really, truly was. And I cannot
100%.
wait to go back next year. The guys all the work that everybody did to put this show on it was really, really cool. And I can't wait to see it again next year and see who they're going to have, and also have these people on my show. I mean, we're all in it. You guys and we're in a great position here, being able to meet these folks and have them come on. I mean, I'm just who do you think you want to have on first? Do you have any ideas on that?
Well, as far as the PhenomeCon folks go, I think Caleb is going to be our first guest.
Really? Awesome.
Yeah, we're going to get Caleb, and then once we get him, I'm going to reach out to my guess, and Roger can chime in on this. I think we want to get Tom and maybe Dragon, if for no other reason than just for the fun aspect of having Dragon on. I think he's funny. He's going to be awesome. He and I, near as I can tell, he and I share a very similar sense of humor, kind of sarcastic and snarky, and that's being a New Yorker. That's I'm a wise guy.
I do have to say one thing and put this out there. Jeff, you were talking about the staff that put on such a phenomenal show.
Yep.
100% agree with that. And we talked to a young lady by the name of Bridget who's basically on the tourist board there that they have for the city of Vernal.
Yep.
She helps plan and was there deeply involved.
Awesome.
And when we talked to her, she's like, can you please get the word out about PhenomeCon?
Yep.
And so we made her a promise that we were going to get her on our show one of these first things, just to talk about the event, how it's planned, what they have coming up. So that's really super exciting as well, because we'll be able to actually look at kind of the behind the scenes and how they make that wonderful conference happen.
Yeah. I have to be there next year. I really do. Again, it's been fantastic to be here in this area. Like I said, I'm still here. I'm actually heading out on Saturday. And I'm sad to leave. I really am. I mean, I got to tell the story real quick before I go. And I mentioned I was going to tell the story. I was out last night. I decided, here I'm back to work, but I got last night. I wanted to go take some more pictures, and it was raining all day. It finally quit raining. And I went up into the Flaming Gorge, got some pictures. And then I wanted to go find this moon. It's called Moonshine Arch. And it's like a stone's throw from here where I'm at the campground. So I go on my way back, I pull in there and I go in, and it's starting to get late. And there's and I ran into a young couple in there that were walking around. They were trying to find it. And I said, well, there's a map right here. And it's not a very good map, quite honestly. And I said, okay, well, let's take a walk and try to find it. So we're walking. And we went down this way, and we turned around and came back, and we went over this way down these trails. And you're in the high desert trails. You got this brush all around you and stuff. And you're walking on these little bumpy trails or whatever, dirt paths. We never did find it. Well, we're coming back, and I'm going to go a different direction. And those two had enough. They've been looking for an hour or more. So they decided to go back. Well, the sun's going down. It's down behind the ridges now. It's getting dark. I'm still walking around out here trying to find this thing. And I'm walking out. I went out quite a ways, and I'm still not finding it. And I'm coming, and I'm out there, and I'm like, it's getting pretty dark. I got no flashlight. I got a camera. I got my cell phone. I can turn the light on my cell phone. I didn't do that, but I'm walking around and I'm coming, and I decided, okay, I've had enough. I can't find this thing, and I'm going to head back. So I'm walking back, and honestly, I'm telling you, it got creepy. It got really creepy when the sun went down. And I'm walking along, and I'm like, what was that? I'm looking over here, and I'm, and you got this high brush all around, and I'm looking around, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to keep on. And I'm thinking in my brain, Jeff, you're a paranormal investigator. You're used to this kind of thing. Embrace it, dude. Don't be. And I thought, I'm going to get on back now. It's getting kind of dark. I got no protection, no flashlight, no nothing. I was seeing shadows, and I know it was just shadows. It was just me. I know the thing was playing on me, and I'm looking around, and I'm like, man, it was just weird. And but it was the whole thing of being in this area that was starting to get to me a little bit, I think. And I didn't get scared. I didn't run. I swear to God, I did not run. I just, made my way back to the truck, and I never did find Moonshine Arch. I don't know where it is, out there someplace, but
like one of your chat people says, it was a bunny.
It was probably a bunny, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, he's a skinwalker. Everybody told me, Jeff, don't get abducted while you're out there. Yeah, I did. Well, I'm still here. It hasn't.
I don't know. I'd be totally okay getting abducted by bunnies.
By bunnies would be, maybe I'll be all right. Yeah, coyotes don't care. I know it could have been a coyote. I don't know what it was, but I heard snapping and cracking and that kind of stuff in the brush around me, and you can't see into it.
If I can make a recommendation to you, Jeff, while you've still got a few days out here, I don't know what your plans are, but check out McCoy Flats. That's a really really a trippy area that's just outside of Vernal. And then there's also, if you're really brave, you can check out Dark Canyon, which is allegedly the home of the Skinwalker. That's apparently where the Native American lore says that the Skinwalkers actually reside, is in Dark Canyon. But don't go out there at night. Don't do it.
So go early in the morning, so I got plenty of time, right?
Yeah, those are two places I would definitely recommend. In fact,
I wrote them down. I don't have much time. I have a little, but yeah.
Jack Osborne they just aired a thing on Discovery Plus with Jack Osborne, Jamie Kennedy, and Jason Mewes. I'm a huge Kevin Smith film fan. Clerks 1, 2, and Clerks 3 just came out, but the three of them just went out to McCoy Flats, and they had some pretty interesting encounters out there. So there's no shortage of places out there in that whole area, that whole region that you're currently at, of really cool places to see. And yeah, well, like Vesta May says, that's how you get on Missing 411, right?
Don't go out alone.
Yeah, don't go out alone. Yeah,
Dave Politis. Yeah. But no, there's the whole, literally, it's not just Skinwalker Ranch. The whole region out there is just a hotbed of, bizarre, strange stuff. And I'm not just talking about the liquor laws. Wink, wink.
Oh my gosh, I know, and it is. It has been fast. I cannot wait. I'm actually coming early next year because I want to spend more time out here next year because there's so much to do and see. On my way out of here, when I leave on Saturday, I'm going to be stopping by the dinosaur area there. It's just like 40 minutes from where I am right now, and I'm going to be stopping by there to check all that out as well. I have to, because there's just so much to do here. I didn't realize that that this is a big dinosaur bones and all that area. So got to scope that out too while I'm here. But it's been a fascinating experience. It truly has.
Flaming Gorge, of course, is also one of the best trout fishing areas in the world. I mean, it's absolutely breathtaking. You go up there by the dam in Flaming Gorge, and I mean, it's not uncommon to see rainbow trout. Just humongous
I was
trout.
there. Took some pictures. Yeah.
One of the best fly fishing streams out there.
Wow.
Out there in Flaming Gorge. I love to go out. One of my big passions is I love fly fishing. So it's
oh, really? Oh,
wow. Yeah.
So I was out there. I actually went up there first yesterday. Of course, it was raining. The only day I've been here all this time. It was beautiful, hot, sunny. And then yesterday, when I finally had a chance to go explore and take some pictures, it was raining. But I did. I went up there to the dam. Took some pictures. And of course, I got there 10 minutes after they closed. For tourism, for the center right there. So, I got some pictures, and then on the way back, I was taking pictures of the canyons and all just a beautiful area around here. And then, of course, went looking for the Moonshine Arch on the way back. And yeah, then that was an experience in its own. But wow, guys, this has been fantastic. We're right at 2 hours, and I got to cut it off. But man, I could go on for a long time. Got to have you guys back. I mean,
we would love to. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, this has been great. You guys have such good insights on all this kind of stuff. I have thoroughly enjoyed listening to both of you talk about your stuff that you have, and I think your show is going to do great. As we mentioned before, it's on Mixcloud. Talk about it again real quick.
Mixcloud.com, and the name of the podcast is The Soul of the Unexplained, and that's soul spelled SOL, as in the word sun in Spanish, but the Soul of the Unexplained. And if you're a music fan and you like synth pop and music of the 1980s, like Depeche Mode, Erasure, OMD, stuff like that, Duran Duran, then The Soul of Synth Pop is my other show, which is also can be found and is archived on Mixcloud. And I do check I'm on Facebook several times a day, but despite my verboseness and my loquaciousness here during the interview, I actually am very shy. I don't know.
Couldn't have told that by tonight for sure.
I know. It's because I'm comfortable with you, Jeff. You're one of my kind of people. So,
right, cool.
So if you ever see me out and about or anything like that, just say hi. I'm actually, despite being a scary looking guy, I'm actually a big teddy bear.
Like Caleb. Yeah, pretty much.
Yep. Pretty much.
Roger's been awesome, man. I tell you what, Mr. Worked for Blizzard and everything. You and I were talking gaming and stuff like that. World of Warcraft, that was me, and some of the other, just Warcraft in general, and all that. So, dude, I almost, I see the stuff behind you, in your room there, and stuff, the pictures and whatnot. I know that you and I we think a lot alike, and especially Robert Jordan.
Absolutely.
And the whole Wheel of Time series that we talked about. Oh my gosh. Yeah, we could go on for hours, huh? We're going to have another show. You guys have got to come back. Hey, folks, thank you so much for being here with us tonight. I've had an awesome time with Jim and with Roger. This has been awesome. We're going to do this again. We're going to have another episode of Insiders Insights coming up in a couple of weeks. We're going to hope there's a couple of guys we're trying our best. Looks like I froze or something there for a second. Hopefully you can still hear me. My connection, not the best. But we are going to have a couple of other insiders that I met there that said they would come on the show. So we're going to mix it up. We're going to have some more insiders and get their insights as well as we go along. And we're going to have some people coming on the show. Of course, we got James Keenan's going to be coming on. I've got Greg Lawson, the author and paranormal investigator. He's written a couple of different books, one on Roswell. He's an investigator. Whatever it may be, he investigates it. And so Roswell, he's looked into, wrote a book on it. He's got one that he wrote about the how to be a paranormal investigator, and another one that has to do with being an investigator for paranormal. Great guy. I can't wait to have him on the show. We just palled up quite a bit during PhenomeCon. He always seems to be wherever we were.
Yep.
So
he's the life of the party. Greg Lawson. I mean, he's just he'll have you in stitches.
He's a colorful character. He's fun.
Yeah.
Russ Cord. I mean, Russ, his presentation, the way he's so animated and stuff. Talking about the pepper spray, the bear spray. Oh my gosh,
hot pepper. Yeah.
Hot pepper. I can't wait to. Anyway, folks, got to wrap it up. Thank you so much for being here with us tonight. Again, Jim and Roger, my honor to have you on the show. I really appreciate you very much, folks. Click and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Click that like button if you would. It really does help us out. And if you like the content of our show and all that, and if you'd like to help support the show, we have a Patreon channel. It's jfree906 at patreon.com. Again, guys, thank you so very much. Folks, have a great rest of your week. We will see you next time right here at jfree906. Good night, everybody.
Good night. Peace, love, and bunnies.